Tonight, the National Security Minister answers the question of why two convicted murderers were the ones chosen to make history as St. Lucia's first ever parolees. St. Lucia records a fifth death related to COVID-19, and a police operation leads to the arrest of two men on gun-related charges. The details of these stories and much more are coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Thursday, the 17th of December, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Did the authorities involved in Wednesday's historic parole hearing make the right choices in who they chose to put up for parole? Well, according to National Security Minister Herman Gil-Francis, they did. Two males convicted of murder who spent over 20 years locked up at the Border Lake Correctional Facility have been granted parole. Many have questioned why inmates with lesser charges were not chosen instead. Rochelle Gonzalez begins our reporting.
On Wednesday, December 16th, history was made in St. Lucia when a first-of-its-kind parole hearing was held at the Border Lake Correctional Facility to review the sentencing of two male inmates who had served over 20 years for the crime of murder. This hearing took place as part of the Department of Home Affairs and National Security's push to observe Human Rights Day, which was on Thursday, the 10th of December, and to raise its human rights profile with the establishment of a parole system on the island. The men's cases were heard before the 7-member parole board, and in the end, they were both granted parole. On Thursday morning, in relation to the outcome of the case, National Security Minister Herman Gil-Francis was asked whether the board made the right choice to review the cases of violent crime offenders. This was his response.
The law is very clear. If you look at the criminal code, I can't remember the section, but it's between 1150 and 31 to 1150. It says that anybody who has served a custodial sentence of about 15 years is entitled to a parole hearing. But we had no parole, and that's why I have to give the DPP a lot of kudos for this, because he was one of the persons who was at me almost every day to get this done, because the judges were already threatening that persons come before them and applied for leave to come to them. As long as you had 15 years and you had not been given an opportunity to have parole, then they would have been released in dismissal.
So are there no non-violent offenders who have served 15 years?
I do not know. That is what I'm saying. So it is a process.
Francis said he has no say in who gets chosen to face the parole board. However, he said it is anything but simple and straightforward.
It is a lot of things happening. The psychoanalysis has to be done, whether they're going to be rehabilitated, whether there's an opportunity of re-offending and these other things. So it's a long process, and I do not get into the nitty-gritties of what's happening.
Now that the two 47-year-old inmates have been granted parole, there is a likelihood of them going home sooner rather than later. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Meanwhile, there are also concerns regarding the preparedness of St. Lucia's new parole system to adequately implement measures to assist individuals in moving forward with their lives in a positive and productive manner.
For the first time in St. Lucia, two murder convicts have been granted parole. The two have served over 20 years of their sentences. After being behind bars for over 2 decades, are these individuals ready to be reintegrated into society? Minister for National Security Herman Gil-Francis spoke on the issue of whether enough is in place to help individuals who are now on parole to transition back into society.
A lot has been done. Remember, we talked about the clinical psychologist who goes to visit and has a number of conversations with them to see about their mental state and everything. The families are spoken to see whether the kind of support that is needed for them to be on the outside is there. And so a lot goes into that. And I want to thank the persons from Border Lake for their hard work. But a lot of things have been taken in consideration, so it's okay.
However, he says there are other initiatives that he would like to see instituted to ensure that future parolees are equipped to take on the challenge once they are released.
The government is doing its best. So we have remedial teachers. You have recognized that some of the inmates have done the GCs, they have done the vocational training and so on, and they are now progressing. So yes, we are doing that. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I want to see done, and I'm praying that we win the next general election, is to have a halfway house, so that persons like the two individuals who have now been on parole, that they would have been able to, instead of going directly into the society, they would now receive their parole, but would have gone into the halfway house for at least a month or two, so that their social skills and everything can be taught to them.
Francis explained that there are checks and balances that have already been established for the two first parolees.
Again, if you would remember, we now have 4 additional probation officers, and those probation officers are assigned to individuals. So yesterday, I think 2 of them were successful. So each of them would have a probation officer monitoring them, going to the community that they live, and speaking to them on a daily basis or weekly basis, and giving reports, so that if they were to break their bonds, then obviously it can be rescinded.
St. Lucia's constitution does not allow for the release of the names or information of the individuals who will be released, and there has been no official release date for the parolees. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
St. Lucia has recorded its 5th COVID-19 related death. This death is the island's latest positive COVID-19 case and brings the total number of cases diagnosed in country to date to 279. Nisha Charles reports.
On Thursday, St. Lucia recorded 1 new case of COVID-19, case number 279. This case was from a batch of 145 samples, which came back on Thursday. Case number 279 is a 39-year-old male from the Grosley district and the island's 5th COVID-19 related death.
Yesterday, Wednesday, December 16th, 2020, case number 279 came into the respiratory facility as a critical patient with other severe underlying medical conditions. At the time of admission, the individual was assessed and also tested for COVID-19. The individual passed away while in care. An epidemiological link has not yet been established for this case. Investigations are ongoing by the contact tracing team to determine any possible existence of a link with this case. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, we express condolences to the family and loved ones of this individual. The ministry sympathizes with the family during this time of loss.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness reminds everyone of the importance of continuing to practice the infection prevention and control guidelines to minimize the spread of the virus.
Wear a mask in public places and ensure it covers the mouth, chin, and nose. Maintain a distance of 6 feet from others. Use a bleach solution to sanitize frequently touched surfaces and frequently handled objects. Also, avoid contacts with other persons who have flu-like symptoms. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, keep away from others and seek medical care at the closest community respiratory clinic.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness will continue providing updates as new information becomes available. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Stay with us. Still to come, 2 found with guns and several rounds of ammunition. The health minister warns those in home quarantine not to force the hand of authorities. And Independent Senator Adrian Orji says the VAT exemption for MPs is ill-advised.